In a nation divided by red and blue, we at Core Values want to lead from the front. We want to bring both sides together and help create a unified purple nation. Hi, and welcome back to another installment of Core Values. I'm Zach Zindler, and today we're interviewing a friend of the show, Jake Nimetz.
Booyah.
Jake is from the military community. He served in the Marine Corps and then went on to all the way up the corporate ladder to VP of Navy Federal. So, as you know, being a person that was on your podcast personally, Jake, his podcast is the Say That Again podcast, and he's trying to really outreach the community as much as he can and really give that, communicate just kind of what it's like to be a veteran.
Yeah.
Jake, I'm so glad you're on the show. Welcome.
Yeah, man. Here we go. So I get the fun seat today. You came on my show and I had the producing duties and all that kind of stuff. Today we get to I get to just chill, relax, let you ask the questions, and happy to be here, man. Thanks for having me out.
Man, see, that's what we do. We're helping our communities. Yeah. So in order to do that, I don't want to beat around the bush. I really want to get into some stuff today.
Let's jump in.
So what really was your deciding factor to join the most difficult branch in the military?
Yeah, man. That's it. I'm good start. Good start with that because I kind of like that story. So the reality is I am a Marine. I'm 4 years, 02 to 06, but I'm one that will say this: I was scared to join the Marines. Who says that? Nobody. But my dad was in the Marine Corps. My oldest brother was in the Army. I was playing high school football, and I wanted to play football in college. That's what I was originally wanting to do. And I got, I was looking at some different schools and all that. So at the beginning of my senior year, I was pretty much in a place where I was like, I'm not gonna go to the military. But then you know how it goes, like the dudes outside the cafeteria, the Army recruiter or whatever, and
the pull-up bar.
Yeah, the pull-up bar and all that kind of stuff. How many sit-ups and push-ups can you do and all that? So I got hooked up with the Army recruiter first, and I was like, maybe I'll join the Army. But then that didn't work. And just to fast forward through some of this, like I had the Army National Guard, Army Reserve, Air Guard, Indiana Air Guard, like all this kind of stuff. I had all of them come and meet with my parents with me in the living room, and all, not the Marines.
Wow.
And then one night, man, I was laying in bed. I woke up in the middle of the night. It was like 2:00 in the morning, and I was like, I'm going to the Marine Corps.
Wow.
And that was just it. I was a big boy.
Yeah,
I am. I think I'm taking the cake for the biggest, biggest dude in the studio so far. But
there's different classifications of big.
Yeah.
Just put it that way.
So I was a big guy. I was definitely not like Marine Corps standards for height and weight. I had to do some work. So basically, the way that it went down is when I walked into the Marine Corps recruiter's office. I literally walked up to Sergeant Zell and I said, "Hey, my name is Jake. I'm a senior in high school and I want to join the Marine Corps." And the first thing that he said to me was, "Jake, we're going to need to get you to lose some weight." So I think I was 255.
Wow.
At my senior year in football. I was 255. And I had to weigh 192.
Wow.
I'm 5'11", so I had to get down to 192 according to the height weight standards. I didn't. I got down to 218. That's what I remember going out as. But I could do like 8 pull-ups and I could pass all the tests and all that stuff. So I got a weight waiver, and then I was one of the fun diet recruits.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, half rats.
Yeah, half rats. The whole time, man. I came out of boot camp at 150. So by the time the whole evolution went through, I had lost like over 100 pounds, but I came out at 150. And the thing, my my sting with the half rat thing is I was way under my required weight like 2 or 3 weeks in. You know, I went from 218 down to, I was like 190 or something. I had to have been like 2 or 3 weeks in, but I just half rats the whole rest of the time, you know.
You got caught in the system.
Yeah, yeah. But hey, that was a good way to lose some weight, you know.
Well, it's join
it
the
again.
Marine Corps. It's the best diet you can go on.
Yeah.
So from there, I wanted you have relatives that were in the military, even specifically the Marine Corps. What was it like when you were kind of growing up? Were they trying to coerce you or trying to convince you to join the military?
No. My dad was in the Marine Corps from 64 to 67. We always knew he was a Marine, but he didn't like talk about it a lot. It was, it's like now, like I don't walk around like I'm a Marine,
Yeah.
like I was in the Marine Corps 16 years ago, like it. But like if I meet a Marine,
Yeah.
and that was something I definitely saw in my dad. My dad's very outgoing. He was like a general manager at a Ford dealership, for like 20 or 30 years or something like that. So I would go to work with him sometimes. And I have memories as a little kid of seeing him specifically have that conversation. Like, oh, you were in the Marine Corps? I was in the Marine Corps too. And boom, best friends, So I always respected that. Then there's my oldest brother, who that probably had some influence on me because he is 15 years older than me. So I think I remember when I was like in first grade, he was in the Army. Like he was on active duty in the Army, and he did tanks. He was a tank driver or whatever. And I think he even came to my classroom, and I was like, "Oh, what a hero!" So that definitely kind of swayed with me. But like, they never really pushed me. If you really want to know the truth, there's a significant day the night before I went to Nimetz to sign up and swear in. So that's a significant moment because that night would have been September 13, 2001. Kind of an interesting piece is like I was in the recruiter's office on the morning of 9/11. I watched somebody came in off the street and was like, "Dude, Marines, what are you guys going to do? We were all like, what are you talking about?" They were like, "You need to get a radio or a TV and put it on right now." And Gunny, bless his heart, I don't remember what Gunny's name was. He went back into the office and he pulled out this old school TV with like these rabbit ears with like, the styrofoam on. I'm not joking, man. And then like he was like flipping through the dial, and it was like that was on every channel. I mean, you could pull up like the Learning Channel or like Disney and Disney Kids, and it's like 9/11. There's two planes of just So whatever we pulled up, got that on a TV, and I sat there and watched it with those two guys for like 4 hours, and so like I'm just there with them to go over my paperwork to go to Nimetz on Friday that week because that was a Tuesday morning, I believe. And they were like, "Nimetz is still in?" And I was like, yeah, I'm more. Like, I want to go more. So I want to be clear that I didn't like go to the Marines because of 9/11, but I was in the recruiter's office that morning, and you factored that into your decision. Yeah. So I like immediately that morning I felt more like connected to the idea that I was going to go serve and all that kind of stuff. So the thing that I was getting to is that night, September 13th,
2001.
So it's like Thursday night. It was late, and I was supposed to get up and go meet my recruiter in the morning. He was going to drive me up to Chicago to go swear in. Now, my dad was in Vietnam. Like, he spent a year over in Vietnam, like, in the beginning.
Yeah.
And over the years, he's told me a little bit about the stories. At this point, I heard none of them. But he basically, like, I walked in the house, and he was sitting reading a book like he always was, like next to a lamp, it's like a visual that I'll
core
never
memory.
forget. Yeah. So, but he was basically like, think about this, like, and all these years later, I know what he was saying. He was like, this is wartime now. Like this is like, no doubt this is going to lead to a war. And so he was scared for me, And so I'd never forget that. And then, the next morning I got up and met the recruiter and went and swore in and, went to boot camp a couple months later.
Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Yeah, man. And eating half the food that everybody was allowed to eat.
All the Jello.
Yeah, yeah. No Jello.
No Jello.
It was like water and vegetables. That was like it. That was all
or watered down vegetables.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So a lot of people associate, the Marine Corps as those that are either OCD, people that are over obsessive, people that are highly aggressive.
Yeah.
And your father was really kind of bringing it back. Like, look, you don't go into this with a unlevel head. You need to go into this with a knowing what you're doing without being emotional. You need to understand the gravity of your decision. And a lot of people, when they're 18 years old, that's asking a lot for an 18-year-old that's not fully emotionally developed. And did you feel any type of emotional, or not necessarily emotional, but just a responsibility that when you were in, that there were certain things that you had to hold yourself to, a certain standard that you had to hold yourself to, because you now you had to sit down and really weigh the decision. And obviously you only did one enlistment, but it was something that you really took to value.
Yeah.
Did you feel that responsibility though when you were serving your time?
Well, I think that's kind of built into the Marine Corps culture, right? I mean, like, I felt a I guess I've always felt the responsibility to my teammates, to my bosses. Someone playing like team sports like football and, going off into corporate America and all that. I felt a responsibility. I certainly felt it in the Marine Corps too. So I felt responsible to my platoon. I felt responsible to my, to my peers, to my senior leaders, and really unravel my story, like however we do. But one of the things I will say is I honestly had awesome leaders while I was in the Marine Corps. Like all of them, all the two major duty stations I was at, they were awesome people, and they like took care of me, So, I felt a responsibility to the organization. The Marine Corps is, paramount in, like, if you think of any organizations, they are so good at the brand of what Marine Corps is. Like, it's why me and you can meet all these years later. And like any Marine that we meet, it's like, boom, we're buddies. We went through something.
We overcame trauma together.
Yeah. But it doesn't happen by accident. Like it was built, and we all keep it going. Like I still feel a responsibility to the Marine Corps. So for sure, I absolutely felt that. Yeah.
One thing that when you're in the Marine Corps, because that's what we're speaking on, is that they really make it known that you made a choice.
Yeah.
It was your choice to do these things.
Yeah.
No matter how much you hate it, no matter how much you regret it, it was your choice.
Yeah.
Now, when you're dealing with great leadership, you're on the other end. You're on the receiving end. You are. How old were you when you joined?
I was 18.
18 years old. Yeah. So you're 18, 19, 20 years old, processing great leadership.
Yeah.
How were you able to incorporate that leadership into how you wanted to develop as a Marine and man?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I don't, it's one of those things where I don't think I even really realized it at the time. It developed me and impacted me in my life before during that time, and in ways that I didn't even realize. They were just, And I say all that because sometimes you hear people say like, I had a staff sergeant. He was a total piece of crap or whatever. Like I didn't have much of that. You know, they just were like sharp, and they were like everything that the Marine Corps was all about. So I was thankful for that. But did I know, and how did I incorporate it? I'll say, like, you know, I've been a leader, you know, in high levels and all that kind of stuff, and I definitely kind of remember a lot about what they were about. And I saw them early on in my professional career, so I always hung on to the fact that that's what it looks like. And I'm not saying, and like, you know, this, it's not like I'm saying they were like, you know, patting me on the back and everything. Like, they were beating me up, you know, disciplining me, telling me when I screwed up. They were like, some of them were hard on me and all that kind of stuff. But when I needed them to be a certain way, they were that, you know. And so I always appreciated that. So yeah, I carried that throughout my leadership career for sure. Yeah.
And what was your military occupation?
I was 3043 supply admin. Yep.
So there's a lot of interactions there.
Yeah,
back
yeah.
and forth.
Yeah, for sure.
When you did your 4 years,
Yeah.
and you got out, you joined in 2003,
02.
2002.
Yep.
So got out 2006.
Yeah. Technically, I was February, so I think I did my last. I got out like around Christmas in 05 with terminal leave. Yeah, yeah. I had it saved up. So.
And where did you spend most of your time when you were stationed?
So my rundown is I went to. I'm a West Coast Marine. I went to San Diego, Pendleton for MCT. Then I swung out to the
Marine
East
combat
Coast.
training.
Yeah, Marine combat training. Then I swung out to the East Coast for supply school at Jackson Camp Jack. Is that what it's called? Well, it's Lejeune, but
Fort Jackson.
Yeah, it's Lejeune. I'm overcomplicating it. I can't.
Oh, okay. Johnson, Camp Johnson.
Yeah, there you go.
Gotcha.
You go. Yeah, yeah. So I was at Lejeune for supply school, and then I got my orders to go to Okinawa. I was with 7 Com Battalion on Hanson in Okinawa. I was there for. I extended. I was there for a year and a half, and then I moved back to the States, and I got stationed with Headquarters Marine Corps in Arlington, Virginia. So, and then, yeah, that's where I got out from. So, you know,
yeah, there's a lot of leadership.
Yeah. Oh my God.
All those places.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just to comment on that real quick, to go from 7th Com and Camp Hansen, you know, and Camp Hansen and Camp Schwab, there's a series of different bases in Okinawa, as you know, but the two northernmost are like where the grunts are and the infantry guys and all that kind of stuff. So for the most part, that's the guys that we were bumping into out in town and all that. Excuse me. And then, you know, we were going to the field a lot. We were going out and setting up all the comm gear and all that. Well, they were, and I was putting up mess tents for, you know, so that everybody could come eat. But you know, I mean, it was a big deal to see like staff sergeants and stuff out there.
Yeah.
You know, and then I went to Headquarters Marine Corps, and I'm not kidding you. The first Monday I went to the chow hall for breakfast, and like to the right of me was like 2 stars. And I was like, holy cow. The commandant of the Marine Corps at the time, he used to go in there. He used to go to the gym on the base that I was on. It's at Henderson Hall in the back of Fort Myers. So, you know, yeah, for sure. I saw like it all of a sudden was a lot more officers around all the time, you know.
Your arm gets a lot more tired at the end of the day.
Yeah, no doubt.
So when you were knowing you said you were getting terminal leave.
Yeah.
So you knew that you were going to have a gap in which you know you're going to get paid, and you can now transition into the civilian life.
Yeah.
A lot of things that I took from the Marine Corps is I was beating myself and redlining myself for so long that I didn't realize how much damage I had done to myself.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's almost like once you get that adrenaline dump, now you're sitting there trying to cope and deal with all the things that you obviously didn't feel it before.
Yeah.
You didn't feel the mental issue. You didn't feel the body breaking down. But once, you know, you have that separation, and now it's your time to be, you know, sit with now your repercussions per se.
Yeah.
What was that like for you? Did you start to notice you were dealing with a little bit more mental issues? Did your physical issues start flaring up and you start having more episodes?
So I think I'll be incomplete in this story if I don't. There's a pretty significant story in the middle of me being in the Marine Corps that factors into that question right there. So when I left Okinawa, I said I extended. I was supposed to go back. I was just coming home for Christmas and New Year's on leave. But the day after I got home, me and my little brother got into a car accident. We hit a patch of ice, and for 19 years he was traumatic brain injury, basically in a coma. So that was if I don't know how to paint the picture for you, but that was on Christmas Eve 2003. That was like crushing, because me and my little brother were like really close, and that just devastated me. So, like, kind of going back to the comments about the great leaders, they were what they needed to be when I needed them, because basically starting from there, I was kind of a mess for a while. I was absolutely drinking too much. I got into situations where I probably should have gotten big trouble, but like the first sergeant, the battalion first sergeant in headquarters Marine Corps for, my unit that I was in was compassionate to me. Like I had an incident that got me on the duty staff NCO, and the duty driver had to come get me. Can you imagine that? I'm not
put on the bladder.
I'm not proud of that, but it's understandable, I think, given what I was going through. I was so crushed because I didn't know if Joe, my little brother, was going to wake up, or if he was going to be the same again, or if I was going to just get a phone call and he's dead now, or what, it sucked. It was a period of time that really sucked. So, when I got out of the Marine Corps, basically when I left Virginia, I had kind of an opposite experience to the question that you just asked. Did I finally slow down and oh my God, my body's all beat up? I was drinking almost every day. I was smoking cigarettes like a chimney. And basically when I left Virginia, a few weeks before, I had this epiphany. I've been living terribly for 2 years. I'm beating myself up. I need to stop. So I looked at that as an opportunity to transition myself. So that was a physical move, and it was a literal move for me mentally, to change. So I was in a position where I was feeling better, man. I was feeling way better, because I had kicked a lot of, I'll have a beer tonight. I say this sometimes when people are like, "Oh, I thought you were sober or whatever." I needed to be for a bit, but I had to get off of all that, and it was a good opportunity for me to segue my life and get all that crap out of my system, So and we talked before about applying for disability and all that kind of stuff. I never did any of that, and it's probably got something to do with that, because I was actually felt better than I had in quite some time. The other thing I'll say too is all respect to everybody who's in a unit like headquarters Marine Corps, but it couldn't be more night and day different. We were going to the field a lot in 7Com in Okinawa.
Yeah.
That was way more taxing on my body. When I went to headquarters Marine Corps, I was sitting in a desk, I was, we did PT and all that kind of stuff, but it wasn't deployable. It wasn't, we weren't spending as much time trying to be mission ready and all that. Again, respect to the administrative kind of positions that are out there. It was good in its own right, but it was just a different, so I didn't really get beat up too much in that one, but yeah, for sure at Okinawa, I was doing all kinds of humping 50 miles and whatever we were doing out there, in
98 degrees, 100% humidity.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, what did you find that kind of gave you that motivation, and what helped you sustain that motivation? Because you might be able to wake up and say, I'm going to do something. You might have that, that drive inside of you. But then a week later, you're like, I don't want to do that anymore. And there's nothing there to hold you accountable.
Yeah.
What did you use to hold yourself accountable?
to quit all that stuff and kind
Well,
of
just
change my
you,
life.
you totally changed your life. I mean,
Yeah.
you told me you woke up and you're like, nope, this is not okay.
Yeah.
This needs to change.
I think that because there's a literal morning. There's a morning that I remember in the barracks. I was like, oh, we had just gotten home from the bars like 2 hours prior to that. Now I got to go out for PT. And I was like looking at myself in the barracks mirror, and I was like, I had like bags under my eye. I just looked bad. But the thing is, I looked at myself like every day.
Mm-hmm.
So it was weird that this one day I was just like, holy cow, I look terrible. I think all kinds of things happened that morning. Like what happened is I accepted the situation with my brother. I kind of, because there's like a whole nother angle. I was the driver. So there was a piece of this where I was like blaming myself for it. All these years later, I mean, we were going 35 miles an hour and hit a patch of ice. You guys have been up north. You know what the roads can get like. Hit a patch of ice and hit a tree, Mm-hmm. But I was wrestling with like guilt. So I think I kind of like forgave myself that morning. I accepted that Joe was in the situation that he was in because I had kind of like been wrestling with hope and negativity, optimism versus pessimism and all that kind of stuff. So I like accepted that. But then I also came to the conclusion that my brother would be pissed to know that that's the way that I was doing. Like, he wouldn't want that for me. So that really motivated me. That fueled me for many years that I was like, I'm living for both of us. So I'm going to go do big things. I'm going to go as far as I can. And that stayed with me for a long time. So like, if he's got to be stuck in a bed with traumatic brain injury, I'm going to go see the world, and like tell him about it. So that really was like the fuel. But that morning, yeah, what an awesome, significant moment of like changing your life. Kind of need to go through that again. To be honest with you, right now.
Well, there's multiple ways of getting treatment to help experience that metaphysical state.
Yeah.
But when you got out of the Marine Corps, you really started doubling down on your drive.
Yeah.
What did you use to kind of pinpoint or spearhead all of this drive that you had? How did you know that you wanted to get into corporate America?
I would say that some of that is just kind of accidental. It's a scenario of readiness meets opportunity. I think is the best way to talk about my corporate world. And there's a stop in between. I went up to South Dakota and played football. I did. I ended up going up and playing college. So I went to Dakota State University, and I played on the football team for 1 year. And I completely destroyed my back when I was up there. I had some bad back spasms for like 5 or 6 years after that season. I learned how to use like stretching to keep it at bay. Thank God, knock on wood, I haven't had any back spasms for a bit. But I went up there and played I started on the offensive line and then played a lot on the defensive line. When it was all said and done, that was pretty cool. A name drop that I'll throw out there is a guy named Rudy Griffin was our coach, was our position coach. Rudy Griffin was a team captain on the 2005 Alabama Crimson Tide. So it was cool to get to know him, and for him to be a coach, like that was pretty surreal. But it was also just a small college environment, and
Yeah.
I wanted to go to a small school because I didn't want to try to wrestle onto a starting lineup at University of Florida or something like that. Like I just wanted to go to a small school and have a good shot to get on the field and all that. And it was fun. It was super fun. Great friends up there and all that. But yeah, so then I went to, so when I got injured, I switched to online school. I finished my bachelor's degree over the course of the next couple of years, but I started working, at Navy Federal. And that's what I'm saying. That's where the readiness just met opportunity. It was like my first job was a collector. Like I just caught, I like past due, you're past due. I called and collected on you. It's that always gets stereotyped massively. I will say that I would classify a lot of that time as actually helping a lot of people. And it was a rough time too, because it was, I started at Navy Federal in October '07, and like the economy dropped out in '08.
Yeah.
So I was in collections when nobody could pay their bills, you know. But I was hungry. I knew I wanted to get, I knew I wanted to get promoted. I wanted to get into leadership. I was thinking about it like, man, I wish I want to go try to be a sergeant, up in here, the equivalent.
Yeah.
What's that? Supervisor? All right, I'm gonna be a supervisor. What do I got to do? So I did. I rocketed through the ranks pretty quickly, at least the first couple. So, collector, then, and I was really good at that. It's a very competitive environment. Try to always be like the number one collector every month and all that. I was certainly in the top upper end. Then, basically won an interview, got into an assistant supervisor position. And then me and the supervisor, we just completely turned this team into like successful number one team. Then they were like, all right, well, we're going to make you a supervisor now. And so I was a supervisor, and I just relished, put me in front of the worst team. I think they did that twice. Statistically, they were the worst team. And they said, hey, you're going to be the supervisor over here on Monday. Okay. Well, like a month later, we're going out number one. We're collecting more money than most. And then two times, they moved me over and made me start a new team. So I got to like hire everybody from the start, like go through training with them, build the team from the ground up, and I had a lot of fun doing that. And then on my 4-year anniversary was my first day where I was the assistant manager of collections. Of consumer loan collections. So, that was crazy. I was like 27 years old. I'd been with the company for 4 years on the dot. And I had like 100 people underneath me, and, the leadership team of 10. It was significant. It was pretty cool. Do I need to keep going?
No, you're good. I want to know how many years did you work in Navy Federal? Or
it was like 14 and a half years.
14 and a half years.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of bring it back to what you were talking about before. So me personally, I've survived 3 major car accidents, and there's things that I've had to,
bless your heart.
Well, there's a lot of things I had to overcome physically, but the mental thing that I had to overcome was always in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
No matter what I did, where I went, it was always in the back of my mind that I had survived, that there was like a reason why I wasn't dead. And for your brother, he is still alive.
Yeah.
Is he?
He is not alive.
He is not alive?
He died last year, June, so it's coming up on
Wow.
1 year. We're about 11 months ago. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, well, even that, I thank you for that, Zach. But like, here's the thing. His life sucked.
Yeah.
He was laying in a bed, 100% care all the time. And then you think about like grieving it. Most of us grieved hard.
Yeah.
19 years ago.
Yeah.
And so, and then like there's some normalcy, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
that kind of comes along with 19 years of it being this way, So when he passed, it was a whirlwind of emotions, but mixed in there somewhere was thankfulness for him that he didn't have to live that way anymore. That was.
Did you carry that with you when you were? So you knew that he was never going to really get better. You knew he was in his constant state. Now, eventually, but you dealt with a trauma of experiencing a car accident.
Yeah.
And surviving it. You saw how bad it could have been, but you were the one that survived it.
Yeah, for sure.
And Survivor guilt.
Yeah.
When you started to work your way up the ladder, did you feel that that there was something inside of you that you were meant to do while you were doing that? Was that also an addition into your drive that you survived for a reason?
Yeah. I think, yeah. To answer your question directly, yes. Yeah, I carried something. There was something like, I have a duty now. I have to go do well. I have to go take advantage of life. You know what I mean?
Keep going. Keep going.
So I did, and I think the whole time I was just trying to be, it's like cliche army, army slogan, but I was just trying to be the best I could be. It's like whatever it was. If I was a collector, I was trying to be the best collector I could be. If I was a collection supervisor, I was trying to be the best collection supervisor I could be. If I was your boss, I was just trying to be the best boss I could be. If I was to my boss, I was just trying to be the best employee for you. Like, what can I do for you? Um, I just carried that with me. I mean, that's what
Mattered to you.
Yeah.
The quality of what you were doing,
yeah,
not just the quantity of the amount of things you could do.
yeah, and it was all very sincere. I take pride in the fact that I wasn't like a ass kisser coming up. It was all sincere, and I think that's why I generally got promoted pretty fast. Is that I worked hard.
Yeah.
I was coachable. I didn't blame. I didn't shy away from. I screwed that one up.
Yeah.
That was me, but I learned from it. It's just real with people. And I was just trying to be the best I could be. That's as cliche as that sounds. I was just trying to be the best of whatever. And I don't mean to make that sound past tense. I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
But I'm in a little bit of a transition, as you know, to like, what's the new thing I'm going to be best at? One of them hopefully is being a podcaster.
Well,
And
you're on the right track.
And I'm trying to be the best guest
Yes.
as a podcast on the podcast right now,
Well, you're doing a great job. So I wanted to also really get into, like, you have this feeling that you're going to be the best in no matter anything you did. Anything you do, you're going to be the best. Do you feel that once you achieve these things, does that fill that hole?
Boy, that is really reflective of right now. Because the transition that I'm talking about, and people don't know me, but I've been in corporate America for 14 and a half years, and I just recently quit, like a high level executive job. And so it's making me it's been wildly eye-opening to me how that move in my life has re-established how what's important.
Your core values.
Yeah. Like it's thinking back to some of the things that we accomplished. And again, like, all respect to people in corporate America. It's fun. I had a lot of fun doing it. But at the end of the day, you're not going to be remembered. You're not going to be remembered for the quality assurance program that you built. That's not going to be on your, nobody cares about that at the end of the day. I mean, hell, inside a company 5 years later, nobody cares about it, So I'm redefining a little bit what is the most important thing to me. And I'll also admit that I spent a lot of time wrongfully married to my career. I made some mistakes with that. Like, I was a better career man than
Family man.
Yeah, like a brother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At times, I was married at one point. I was better at being a manager at Navy Federal than I was a husband. And so
I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that.
I mean, the career gave back to me because I did well. But at the end of the day, now that it's all gone, that I made the decision to leave entirely, I'm so clearly realizing that it had a pedestal in the air, nowhere near where it needed to be.
You overcommitted.
Yeah, for sure. And so now, you met my dad when he came to my house. I spent a lot of time with him. Ryan is he's a fellow Marine that we were stationed together in Okinawa, and, he's the co-host on my show. And, him and I have been spending time together, and I've called people. It's just so rearranging what's important to me. I mean, working is important for sure. People need for many reasons. I mean, it's just like a sense of purpose, and you got to put food on the table and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not downplaying all that, but I just overcommitted to that one thing. I watered that plant more than other plants, and so now I'm not really giving any water to that plant. I'm going to put some water in the other plants, and that's feeling good.
It helps you alleviate that. You feel guilty for not being able to give what you're capable of.
Yeah.
And that's in anything you do. If you know that you could have gave more, you're going to always carry that with you.
Yeah.
And for you dealing with all these things and finally finding a peace, not necessarily overcoming it because you're still trying to figure it out by talking and doing all these other things, but it's allowing you to soften the shield or soften your protective barrier, and allow you to be more empathetic, and more interactive instead of just being the stone cold person.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So,
for sure.
I want to kind of start slowing and winding down, but I had a question that I really wanted to ask you.
Boom, let's do it.
What is and was your proudest moment that you have ever achieved in your entire life?
Yeah, I mean, I think pretty clearly, and I'll preface this by saying that I got there's a lot of good ones, like I got my master's degree, I got my bachelor's degree, climbed all over the place in corporate world, like getting a detail VP position, all good stuff. But man, and this is not because it's your show. This is the truth. It's when I got finished the Crucible and they put that damn Eagle Globe and Anchor in my hand. Without a doubt, that was the beginning of all kinds of things about who I am today. And it was just, we know what basic was like. It's like this mountain that all of us have to climb it. There's no like, oh, well, I think, it's 91 days, I think was what I remember. 90-ish days. We all got to go through 90 days. There's no like, well, I'm going to take 87 to 88 off.
No. You got 13 weeks of straight hell.
Yeah. Like, okay, you want to take 87, 88? Well, guess what? You're going to drop back a week and you're going to do it all over again,
Yeah.
So, it was just something that we all had to do, and putting that Eagle Globe and Anchor in my hand, man, that gave you
your shining light. Now, with every question, there's always a devil's advocate or another side of that coin. Would you ever do that again?
It's hard to. Okay, so like, let me simplify it. I'll say it like this. If you remove the wisdom and awareness and the politics of being 20 years older, damn straight. You add all that, it starts getting more complicated. I'll just say it like that. You know what I mean?
Well, if you get a talk from your dad the day before you ship out to Nimetz, it might be a little bit, you can't really turn that one down.
Yeah. I mean, today it's the best thing that I ever did. It's built my character. It's given me confidence that's never left. It's made me tough. It's made me resilient. It's an awesome brotherhood. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff about choosing the Marine Corps, and I'm sure that all the other branches have similar, camaraderies, but there's something real special about ours, and so it's the best thing that I ever decided to do was to go do that. But man, it's getting to be a scary world out there these days, and I really fear for what these guys, stuff that's going on for military, and just being more aware. Even from the time that I was in, like realizing what was going on with Iraq and weapons of mass destruction, it's sad. It leaves a bad taste in your mouth, the whole like political landscape of it all. But
well, if you look at it, when we went in, the whole political landscape was a whole different thing, but there was a whole agenda going on.
For sure. There's been an agenda forever.
It's almost like, okay, well, imagine being your father talking to you.
Yeah.
Maybe
that's why.
That's why.
Yeah, he was factoring some of that in. Yeah,
because he's seen it. He's been through Vietnam. I mean, he saw multiple different, regimes.
Yep.
And they're all the same. They're talking about different stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that I wish we were more careful about how we use privates and PFCs in the military.
They're kids.
E1s, E2s, E3s, they need to be considered more. If like we're gonna go somewhere, like what's gonna happen to them?
Yeah.
I just simply wish that we thought more about that. I mean, we could talk about that for about 100 hours, but
absolutely.
But you know what I mean? At the bottom of it all, that's what I wish would happen for the
military. But I do think that is the responsibility of the veterans, is to prepare the community by talking to the community. If
Absolutely.
you don't talk
Absolutely.
to the community, we will not be able to explain it.
Yeah.
So, Jake, thank you for coming on today. I feel like we learned so much about your story, so many things that people are dealing with that don't really want to talk about it, traumatic instances that nobody's ever heard of before, reasons for why they've done things. I think that's really, really important. And, there's a lot of opportunity out there. So I just want to say thank you so much. What is your social media platforms, if you have any, and how can people reach out to you?
Well, the biggest thing that I'm, pushing is the podcast. Say That Again. We're on Spotify. We have a YouTube channel. You can go to our website directly at Say That Again podcast. Blah 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 blah. Let me say that again podcast.blogspot.com. Yeah. I'm not paying the $10 or whatever to take the blog.
I know you're
I don't
totally
care. I don't care. Like people will know, but honestly, man, just on that point, like the podcast is just fun. That's the biggest motivator for me. Like this is fun.
Yeah,
I enjoy doing this. Is funner today because I didn't have to produce the show.
Yeah, well, it's different. But now we're here and we are, we're achieving this goal together.
Yeah,
so,
and we're meeting cool people.
Absolutely, the community. We're meeting our community.
Yep.
And that's all we're supposed to do is protect and serve our community.
Yeah, and if I throw one more shout out, I want to throw a shout out to the guy that introduced us, Brian, Lieutenant Colonel Vukulek, and his endeavor, which is VetCoin, and I think it's vetcoinhq.com. That's a super honorable thing that's going on with VetCoin. They can explain the whole thing in there. If you're into crypto at all, go check out VetCoin. That's some good stuff right there. So,
well, thank you so much, Jake.
Yeah, man, thank you. Appreciate you guys.
I'm Zach Zindler, and this was Core Values Podcast. When you're out there living out your core values, remember, impossible dreams become impossible realities. See you next time. Thanks for listening to Core Values. While we aim to represent all branches of the military, we can't do it without you, our listeners. Want to be on the show or know someone who should? Reach out to us on our Instagram at Core Values Official or on our website at corevalues.io. Thanks for listening, and remember, impossible dreams can become impossible reality.